The Aurelian Royal Hatchery was known across 3-star systems as the safest and most beautiful place in the empire. Deep inside the palace, behind layers of crystal walls and soft glowing corridors, the royal star wyvern eggs rested on shining nests made of warm silver threads. These eggs were rare and sacred. Every 100 years, a new brood arrived, and from these tiny shells, the future rulers of the Aurelian people would one day rise. But this year, something strange and troubling was happening. Caretakers, scientists, and royal attendants stood around the hatchery with worried faces. The eggs were glowing in uneven colors. Instead of soft blue and gentle gold, streaks of sharp red and trembling violet ripple across them. The unborn wyverns were not calm. Something was disturbing them. No one understood why. Every guardian beast brought in to protect the eggs made the situation worse. The Aurelian Empire prided itself on having the greatest collection of psychic creatures in the galaxy, huge drakes with peaceful minds, giant empathy beasts who could sense emotions, old telepathic animals trained specially for this sacred job. But each time a creature walked in, the eggs pulsed with discomfort, as if frightened by the emotional noise around them. The queen herself visited the hatchery many times, her golden robe trailing like liquid sunlight behind her. She was graceful and calm, but even she sensed the growing worry in the air. The last 3 weeks had been full of tests, reports, and long meetings, yet no solution appeared. In the center of the hatchery, a tall scientist named Dr. Sorrel brushed her fingers over a control crystal. The crystal projected tiny glowing symbols into the air. She frowned at them. "The emotional waves are unstable again," she said softly. "The eggs cannot keep harmony in this state." The royal caretaker, Lyran, rubbed his forehead, clearly exhausted. The queen asked for an update within the hour. I have nothing to give her except more bad news. Dr. Sorrel sighed. "We have tried everything. Every creature with a psychic aura causes interference. The eggs react to even the smallest emotional disturbance. Even our calmest guardians have gentle pride or fear or territorial thoughts. The eggs sense all of it." Lyran nodded slowly. "And without harmony, the brood may not survive to hatching day." He did not say the rest, but everyone knew what he meant. If the royal brood failed, the Aurelian Empire would face a crisis unlike any before. Outside the hatchery, the palace halls were quiet, but tension lay heavy in the air. People whispered behind closed doors. Was this a sign of bad fortune? Was something wrong with the brood? Was the empire losing its ancient harmony? Far below all this worry, in the simple servant quarters near the palace stables, a young human stable boy named Elias had no idea he was about to become part of the greatest mystery in the empire. Elias was 16, small, quiet, and completely ordinary by most standards. He worked with the palace animals, brushing them, feeding them, cleaning their stalls. Humans were uncommon in the palace, not because they were unwelcome, but because humans had no psychic abilities. They were simple, grounded beings in a galaxy full of powerful, emotional creatures. Most Aurelians thought humans were gentle but unremarkable. Still, Elias worked hard and stayed out of the way, so everyone liked him well enough. That afternoon, Elias carried a basket of soft feed for the gentle glimmer deer kept near the hatchery. He was tired from a long morning of scrubbing floors and polishing feeding bowls. His brown hair was messy, and dust clung to his clothes, but he hummed as he walked, a small human habit that made him feel lighter. He passed the entrance of the hatchery, where guards in shimmering armor stood watch. Elias paused to bow politely. He always admired the glow inside the hatchery, so bright, so peaceful. But today, the glow was uneven. He noticed flickers of red and violet light along the crystal walls. That's strange, he thought. The eggs looked calmer yesterday. A moment later, He felt a little dizzy. Maybe he had worked too much. He sat down on a wooden crate near the door, just to rest for a moment, the warm feed basket beside him. He did not realize how tired he really was until his eyes slowly closed. Inside the hatchery, the eggs suddenly changed color. The harsh red pulsing softened. The violet waves faded. Gentle gold replaced them. A soft humming filled the air, as if the brood had just taken a peaceful breath. Dr. Sorrel almost dropped her crystal tool. What is that? The readings shifted again. Lyran rushed to the screens. This pattern! It's harmony! How? Why? Everyone inside the hatchery looked around, confused. Nothing had changed. No new creature had entered. The guardians had been removed hours ago. The room was quiet and empty except for the eggs. Dr. Sorrel narrowed her eyes. Something outside the room is affecting them. They stepped out carefully. Their eyes widened. There, slumped gently on the crate, was Elias, sleeping peacefully with his head against the wall. His breathing was slow and even. His mind was completely calm. And the eggs responded to him. Dr. Sorrel blinked. A human? Impossible. Humans have no psychic projection. Lyran frowned. No psychic projection, yes. But perhaps no psychic disturbance either. Elias woke with a small start. Ah, sorry, I didn't mean to fall asleep here. He scrambled up, embarrassed, dusting himself off. I'll move. I'm not supposed to be in the way. But Lyran held up a hand. Stay still for a moment. The caretaker waved a small scanner around Elias. The device showed almost perfect emotional neutrality. Not empty, not cold, just calm, balanced. Dr. Sorrel looked stunned. He is like a quiet field with no winds. Lyran nodded slowly. The eggs must sense that. Elias blinked. The eggs like me? It sounded ridiculous to him. Yes, Dr. Sorrel said gently. They feel safe around you. Elias turned pink. But I was just sleeping. That might be exactly why it worked, Lyran said. The scientists whispered among themselves. Humans might be the only beings whose minds did not create emotional noise. Every Aurelian creature had some sort of psychic energy. Even peaceful thoughts created ripples. But humans were still waters. Elias shifted awkwardly. If you want me to leave, I can. But I'm really sorry if I caused trouble. You didn't cause trouble, Dr. Sorrel replied with a smile he rarely saw from her. You may have solved it. Elias stared at them, confused. He was a stable boy. He was not important. He did not save royal broods. He cleaned stalls and fed gentle creatures. That was his place, and he liked it that way. But before he could say anything, Lyran gestured politely toward the hatchery door. Would you mind stepping inside for a moment? Inside? But that's the royal chamber, isn't it forbidden? Not today, Lyran said softly. Today we need your help. They guided him inside. The eggs pulsed softly with gold light as soon as he entered. Elias gasped. They're beautiful. The scientists exchanged amazed looks. Look at the readings, Dr. Sorrel whispered. Stable, perfectly stable. Elias walked closer, moving slowly, respecting the sacred space. He knelt beside the nearest nest. He did not touch anything, but he smiled gently. It's warm, he said. Feels like when a foal curls up beside its mother. The eggs glowed brighter. The room felt calmer than it had in weeks. Dr. Sorrel spoke quietly to Lyran. We must inform the queen. A human might be the only possible guardian. Elias blinked. Guardian? Me? But I'm just a stable boy. Titles do not matter, Lyran said. Your presence brings harmony. That is more valuable than any rank. Elias felt his heart flutter nervously. He looked again at the eggs, glowing softly like tiny suns. Somehow, without meaning to, he was helping them. They felt peaceful around him. It was strange, but also wonderful. The queen arrived soon after, gliding into the chamber with her usual calm grace. She studied the eggs, then studied Elias. "You are the one who soothes my future children," she said gently. Elias bowed so quickly, he almost fell. "Your Majesty, I didn't do anything. I just sat near them. I'm sorry if—" "There is nothing to apologize for," she said. "Sometimes the simplest presence is the greatest gift." She looked at the glowing eggs with relief, softening her eyes. "If you are willing, I request your presence in the hatchery each day. You may sleep here if needed." Elias stared at her. "Sleep? Here?" "Yes," she said. "The brood needs you." Elias nodded slowly. "If it helps, then I will." And with that simple promise, the fate of the royal brood, and perhaps the Aurelian Empire, quietly changed. The next morning, Elias woke up in a place he never imagined he would sleep, the royal hatchery. He blinked as the soft, golden light of the eggs reflected on the crystal walls. His cot was placed a short distance from the nests, and he still wasn't sure if this was a dream or real life. He sat up slowly and rubbed his eyes. For a moment, he wondered if someone would run in and say there had been a mistake. After all, he had spent his entire life as a simple stable boy, a human servant, not someone important. Yet here he was, in the most sacred room of the Aurelian Empire. Lyron, the royal caretaker, walked in quietly with a tablet of readings in his hands. He smiled when he saw Elias awake. "Good morning. Did you sleep well?" Elias nodded shyly. "Yes, sir. I hope I didn't disturb anything." "Disturb?" Lyron chuckled softly. "The eggs have been calmer in the last 7 hours than they were in the past 3 weeks." Elias felt warm embarrassment crawl up his neck. He didn't understand why his presence mattered so much. Humans had no special powers, no psychic abilities, nothing grand. They were small, quiet beings in the eyes of the Empire. "I still don't know what I'm doing," Elias admitted. "You are simply being yourself," Loren said. "And that seems to be exactly what the brood needs." Dr. Sorrel entered the chamber a moment later carrying a bundle of scanning crystals. She looked more awake than usual and also more excited. Her long silver hair was tied back and her eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Perfect timing," she said. "Elias, I would like to run a few tests this morning. Nothing painful or frightening, just simple measurements." Elias swallowed. "Measurements? Of me?" "Yes," Dr. Sorrel said, "because we must understand why your presence balances the emotional waves of the eggs." He nodded nervously. "I'll try my best." They began the tests. Dr. Sorrel held different crystals near him. Some glowed bright blue, others let out soft musical tones. Elias tried not to move too much. He felt like a farm animal getting checked by a curious veterinarian. Lyron monitored the egg readings as this happened, occasionally calling out numbers. Dr. Sorrel listened attentively. "Fascinating. The harmony levels rise each time he breathes deeply." Elias blinked. "My breathing?" "Yes," she said. "Humans seem to have very steady emotional rhythms, slow, gentle, predictable." "Oh," Elias said quietly. "I guess I never thought about it." "Of course not," she replied. "Your people grew up with it. To you, calmness is normal. But Aurelians and most psychic species feel waves of pride, fear, curiosity, hunger, excitement, all amplified internally. Even our most peaceful creatures have emotional ripples. But you, Elias, your mind is like a still lake." Elias shifted uncomfortably. "Does that make me strange?" "No," Dr. Sorrel said, smiling warmly. "It makes you rare." While the tests continued, more palace officials and scholars came to observe. Elias felt nervous under their gaze. He had never been the center of attention before, but he tried to stay calm. After all, the eggs seemed to need that calmness from him. One scholar whispered, "Look at him. So young, so ordinary." Another replied, "Sometimes the universe hides its secrets in ordinary places." Elias pretended he didn't hear them. He kept his eyes on the eggs, which glowed softly each time he looked at them. It comforted him somehow, and maybe he comforted them. After the tests ended, Liren placed a light blanket around Elias's shoulders. "You did well," he said gently. "The Queen wishes to speak with you again later." Elias froze. "The Queen?" "Yes," Liren replied. "She wants to thank you personally and discuss your new role." Elias's heart raced. "Role? But I'm not trained for anything royal. I don't know how to represent humans properly. I don't even talk fancy." "You do not need fancy words," Liren said. "Your presence is enough." Elias wasn't sure he believed that, but he nodded anyway. While waiting for the Queen, he wandered around the hatchery carefully. Every step echoed softly on the crystal floor. He looked at the nests filled with silver threads and warm light. He whispered to the eggs, "I hope you're feeling okay in there." The eggs pulsed gold, almost as if responding to him. Elias smiled. He sat cross-legged beside them, humming a small tune from Earth, a soft melody his mother used to hum while cooking. He didn't think anyone was watching, but of course, Liren saw the readings increase again. "Interesting," Liren murmured. "Even his music affects them." After a while, 2 palace attendants arrived. They wore elegant robes and moved with graceful steps. "Elias," one of them said politely, "Her Majesty is ready to see you." He stood up quickly, brushing dust off his trousers. His heart pounded as he followed them through the corridors. The Queen waited in a quiet room near the hatchery. The walls here glowed an even softer shade of crystal blue. She smiled as Elias entered. "Good morning, Elias," she said. "I trust you slept well?" "Yes, Your Majesty," Elias said quietly. "Thank you for letting me stay there." "It is we who must thank you," she replied. "You brought peace to the royal brood, and that is no small gift." Elias swallowed. "I still don't understand how." "That is the nature of harmony," the Queen said. "It is felt before it is understood." She gestured for him to sit. He hesitated, then sat down carefully, trying not to look rude. "I wish to ask you something important," she said gently. "Would you be willing to continue staying in the hatchery? Not just for one night, but throughout the entire incubation period." Elias blinked. "For weeks?" "Yes," she replied. "Maybe longer. The eggs respond to you. They grow calmer and healthier when you are near. If you agree, we will give you proper rest, food, and anything you need." Elias lowered his eyes. "I don't know if I'm strong enough for something like that." The Queen shook her head with a soft smile. "Strength comes in many forms. You have a kind of strength that is rare in this galaxy." He thought about the eggs, their soft golden glow, their quiet trust, their peaceful reaction to his presence. He nodded slowly. "If it helps them, then yes, I will stay." The Queen bowed her head. "Then you have my gratitude." She gave him a small medallion engraved with the royal symbol. "This marks you as an official caretaker of the royal brood. You may enter and leave the hatchery freely. All palace staff will respect your position." Elias held the medallion carefully. It felt heavy in his hands, not because of its weight, but because of its meaning. "Thank you, Your Majesty." The Queen smiled. "One more thing. Do not try to be anything other than yourself. Your natural calmness is what the brood needs." Elias returned to the hatchery with a strange mix of pride and nervousness. He set his medallion gently on his cot. He sat beside the eggs again, humming softly. He talked to them about simple things, how the glimmer deer were eating more lately, how the palace gardens were blooming, how he once fell asleep in a haystack and woke up covered in feathers. The eggs seemed to glow brighter with every simple story he told. As the day went on, more tests were made. The scientists compared readings, scribbled notes, and whispered theories. They tried different distances, placing Elias closer or farther from the nests. The eggs pulsed happily when he was near, and dimmed when he stepped away. They tested his emotions, asking him to think about calm memories, happy memories, even sad memories. Surprisingly, even his sadness was gentle and did not disturb the eggs. Dr. Saral sighed with amazement. Humans truly are unique. Lyran agreed. They are steady creatures. They carry their feelings quietly. Elias felt embarrassed hearing this, but also a tiny bit proud. He had never been called unique before. Later in the afternoon, a small group of young palace trainees asked if they could watch him work. They sat behind a barrier, fascinated as Elias simply talked to the eggs or read stories from an old Earth book he carried. The trainees whispered excitedly. "He's not doing anything magical," one said. "That's the magic," another replied. Elias pretended not to hear them, but he smiled to himself. Hours passed. The eggs glowed softly. The hatchery felt peaceful for the first time in weeks. As night arrived, Elias lay back on his cot, staring at the shimmering ceiling. The sound of the eggs' gentle hum soothed him. He whispered into the quiet room, "I hope I'm doing this right." A faint pulse of gold shimmered from the nests. It almost felt like a reply. And slowly, Elias drifted into sleep, not realizing that news of the human who soothed the royal eggs would spread across the palace by morning, and soon, the entire empire. The following week became one of the busiest weeks of Elias's life, though he did not fully realize it. Every day, more scientists, scholars, and royal attendants visited the hatchery to observe the strange and wonderful calm that surrounded the royal eggs whenever the human boy was near. Elias, however, still lived with the same simple routines he had always known. Wake up, stretch, wash his face, and then greet the eggs with a quiet, "Good morning, little ones." It was not fancy. It was not royal. But it worked. The eggs responded with gentle gold waves each morning, and the palace trackers recorded the highest harmony readings in decades. But harmony was not the only thing changing. Elias, without intending to, began introducing small human habits into the hatchery, habits no Aurelian scientist had thought of before. One morning, Elias brought his old hand recorder from the stable quarters. The device was worn out and scratched, but it still worked. He told Lyran he used it to play simple earth melodies while cleaning the stables. Lyran raised an eyebrow. "Music? Do the eggs understand human music?" Elias shrugged. "I don't know, but music makes me feel peaceful, so maybe it will help them too." He placed the recorder on a small table beside the nests. A soft tune filled the air, a gentle melody made of wooden flutes and quiet strings. At first, nothing happened. Then the eggs brightened, glowing with soft ripples of gold and pale blue. Dr. Saral nearly dropped her tablet. "Unbelievable. Their heartbeats are synchronizing with the rhythm." One trainee whispered, "They like the music." Another wrote frantically, "Human sound frequencies may stabilize pre-hatch psychic waves." Elias laughed softly. "To me, it's just a song my mother liked." But the scientists treated the melody like an important discovery. From that day on, music became part of the daily hatchery routine. Elias played different tunes, slow ones, cheerful ones, calm ones. And each time, the eggs glowed in perfect harmony. One morning, Dr. Saral asked, "What exactly do humans feel when they listen to music?" Elias thought about it. "Sometimes music makes us remember things. Sometimes it makes us dream. Mostly, It helps us breathe easier. Dr. Saral nodded, impressed. Your species carries emotion gently. Low impact, soft waves. The eggs crave that softness. Elias wasn't sure what to say. He didn't feel special. He only felt like himself. Another human habit soon became a second discovery. Elias kept a simple paper journal, something he wrote in every night before sleeping. The palace attendants saw him writing and asked why. Elias explained, "It helps me think clearly. If my head feels messy, writing makes it clean again." The scholars looked at each other, fascinated. "You manage your emotions by putting them on paper?" one asked. "Yes," Elias said. "Humans often do that." The Aurelians murmured, as if he had revealed a secret of the universe. Later, Liren gently asked him, "Would you mind writing your journal near the eggs tonight? We would like to see how they react." Elias agreed, though he thought it sounded silly. That night, he sat cross-legged near the nests. The eggs glowed softly in the dim chamber. He opened his journal and began writing about his day. The music he played, the trainees who visited, the new soft blanket the queen had sent him. As he wrote, the eggs grew brighter. Calm waves filled the room, airy and warm. Dr. Saral whispered from behind a screen, "Remarkable. His emotional release through writing stabilizes the brood." Elias looked up. "They're reacting to me writing?" "Yes," Liren said. "It seems when you organize your emotions, the eggs sense the balance." Elias blushed. "It's just writing." "Perhaps," Liren said, "but simple things can be powerful." Another discovery came from something even more ordinary. Elias kept a schedule. He woke up at the same time, ate at the same time, hummed songs at the same time, checked the eggs at the same time. Humans liked routines because routines made life easier. The royal caretakers noticed something after a few days. The eggs started anticipating his schedule. At the exact time Elias usually greeted the eggs each morning, they would glow softly a few minutes before he even approached the hatchery door. "When he is late by 5 minutes," Dr. Saral reported, "their readings dip slightly. When he enters, they return to harmony. They are learning his rhythm." Elias blinked. "Are you saying they're waiting for me?" "Yes," Liren said proudly. "Your predictability comforts them." Elias laughed shyly. "Well, I like doing things on time." The palace scholars wrote that down as if it was the greatest wisdom ever spoken. One of the most surprising moments happened by accident. During a quiet afternoon, Elias sat beside the eggs, daydreaming. He didn't say anything. He didn't hum. He didn't write. He simply stared at the ceiling, thinking about stories he wished existed. Stories where ordinary people did gentle, impossible things. After a few minutes, he heard Dr. Saral whisper urgently, "Liren, look at the readings." Elias sat up straight. "Is something wrong?" "No!" Dr. Saral exclaimed. "It's perfect." Liren looked amazed. "When you dream or imagine things, your emotional waves become exceptionally smooth. The eggs respond strongly to this gentle imagination." Elias blinked. "They like it when I daydream?" "Apparently," Liren said, "your imagination creates calm hope. Aurelian minds do not dream in this way. Yours is peaceful." Elias stared at the eggs in surprise. He had always been a quiet dreamer. He thought it made him strange. But here, in the royal hatchery, dreaming made him special. The longer Elias stayed with the brood, the more Aurelians respected him, not for strength, not for power, not for status, but for something human, simple calmness. Trainees regularly gathered behind the observation barrier to watch him. At first, they came out of curiosity. Soon, they came to learn. They whispered among themselves, "Humans are so gentle. He doesn't force anything. He just exists peacefully. I wish I could be calm like that." Maybe harmony is more about softness than strength. One trainee even tried to sit exactly like Elias, cross-legged, humming softly. But his psychic energy was too vibrant, and the eggs didn't respond in the same way. Elias smiled awkwardly. "You don't have to copy me. Just be yourself." The trainee nodded, embarrassed but grateful. One late evening, when most scholars had returned to their chambers, Elias sat beside the nests with only Lyran and Dr. Saral nearby. The hatchery was quiet except for the gentle hum of the eggs and the soft glow that filled the crystal walls. Elias whispered to Lyran, "Do you ever feel afraid?" Lyran tilted his head. "Afraid?" "Yes," Elias said. "I worry I might do something wrong. What if I disturb them? What if I am not enough for them?" Lyran smiled kindly. "Elias, harmony is not the absence of fear. It is the ability to breathe through it. That is what you do. You feel your worries quietly, without letting them spill everywhere." Dr. Saral added gently, "In a galaxy full of loud minds, your soft mind is a gift." Elias looked at the glowing eggs. "Sometimes I feel like they trust me." "They do," Lyran said. "And more than that, I believe the brood is forming a bond with you." Elias's eyes widened. "A bond? But I'm not their kind." "Harmony does not care about species," Lyran replied. Elias placed his hand near the nearest nest, not touching, only resting close. A soft wave of warm light pulsed gently through the chamber, brushing against his fingers like a breath. Elias whispered, "Hello, little ones. I'll be here. I promise." The eggs answered with a bright shimmer. They felt safe. They felt calm. They felt connected. And the entire palace soon realized the truth. The royal brood did not just like the human boy. They trusted him. And trust in the Aurelian Empire was more valuable than any treasure in the galaxy. The days in the royal hatchery began to blend into one gentle rhythm. Elias woke every morning to the soft glow of the eggs, now steady and warm, like little suns resting on silver nests. His life had changed in a way he never imagined, yet somehow felt natural, almost peaceful. He still did simple things, humming songs, writing small thoughts in his journal, daydreaming, and talking softly to the unborn wyverns. But slowly, something new was happening in the room, something even the skilled Aurelians did not expect. A connection was forming. It started on a quiet evening when only Elias and Lyran remained in the hatchery. Most of the scholars had gone to rest, and Dr. Saral was in her lab analyzing the latest data. The chamber glowed with soft blues and golds from the eggs. Elias sat beside the nests with a warm blanket around his shoulders. He felt tired in a gentle way, the kind of tiredness that comes from long days filled with calm work. He closed his eyes, breathed slowly, and allowed his thoughts to drift. He imagined the hatchlings, tiny, shimmering wyverns with soft wings still wet from their shells. He imagined them opening their eyes for the first time, seeing the world with wonder. He imagined them chirping softly, stretching their wings, maybe even curling beside him like small, warm animals seeking comfort. It was a simple human dream, tender, hopeful. And then it happened. A soft pulse of warmth moved through the chamber. Elias felt it first in his chest, like a gentle push of wind without moving air. He opened his eyes suddenly. The largest egg glowed brightly, a warm, soft gold with threads of gentle silver swirling across its surface. Lyran, who was checking a list nearby, froze. "Elias, do you feel that?" Elias placed a hand on his chest. "Yes. It feels like someone is saying hello." He hesitated. He didn't know how to explain it. It wasn't words. It wasn't sound. It was a feeling, a gentle feeling. He walked slowly to the biggest egg, his steps soft against the crystal floor. He knelt beside it and leaned in slightly. The warmth grew stronger. Laren watched closely. The readings on his tablet shifted into a pattern he had never seen before. This is new. This is not just calmness. This is communication. Elias blinked. Communication? But how? I can't talk to them. Not with words, Laren said softly. With feeling. Elias hesitated, then carefully placed the tips of his fingers near the egg, not touching, but close enough to feel its warmth. A soft wave of emotion flowed into him, not strong, not painful, not overwhelming, just gentle, like a soft whisper of gratitude, a warm comfort, a sleepy, innocent trust. Elias gasped. It feels like they're happy I'm here. They are, Laren whispered. You have become part of their emotional world. Elias pulled his hand back slightly, unsure. Is that safe? I don't want to hurt them. You cannot hurt them, Laren said. Your mind is too soft to cause pain. They chose to reach out to you. Elias felt his eyes sting a little. He had never felt something so pure before. The next morning, Dr. Saral arrived early with her scanning crystals. When she saw the new readings from the night before, she nearly dropped her instruments. This pattern, this is astonishing, she said. Elias, the brood is projecting emotional signals to you. They have begun pre-hatch imprinting. Elias tilted his head. Imprinting. Yes, Dr. Saral said. It means they are forming a bond with you before even hatching. But I'm not Aurelian, Elias whispered. I'm not even psychic. Dr. Saral smiled gently. Bonding does not always require psychic power. Sometimes it only requires a steady heart. Laren nodded. They trust you, Elias. In their early minds, you are a source of safety. Elias stared at the glowing eggs. He didn't feel worthy of such trust. He was just a stable boy. He came from a small village on a quiet human colony. He had never been special, never extraordinary. Why me? He asked softly. Why would they choose someone like me? Laren answered calmly. Because you came without expectations, without pride, without fear. You simply cared for them. Elias looked down at his hands, the hands that once cleaned muddy hooves and carried heavy feed buckets. He never imagined they would one day comfort royal eggs. Every day after that, the bond grew stronger. The eggs reacted not just to Elias's calmness, but to his emotions and presence in a deeper way. When he laughed, they glowed brighter. When he hummed, they pulsed with soft waves. When he thought kind thoughts, their light shimmered warmly. One afternoon, Elias sat beside the nests, reading a simple earth story from his worn book. It was a tale about a small child raising an injured songbird. He read slowly, letting the words fill the quiet air. As he reached a gentle part of the story, where the bird learned to fly again, the smallest egg suddenly shimmered with beautiful blue ripples. Elias smiled. You liked that part, didn't you? The egg pulsed again as if answering. Dr. Saral, watching from behind a screen, covered her mouth in amazement. They are responding to his storytelling. This level of emotional recognition should not be possible before hatching. Laren agreed. It is not simply calmness. It is connection, understanding, and shared emotion. Elias lowered the book and looked at the little egg. When you hatch, I'll read you even more stories. Maybe you'll have favorites. The egg glowed brightly, warm and eager. By the end of the week, the bond reached a new level. Late at night, Elias lay on his cot under a soft blanket. The eggs hummed quietly, their glow reflecting off the walls. The room was peaceful. Elias closed his eyes and thought about home. The small house, the smell of straw in the morning, the laughter of other stable boys during work breaks. He missed it all, but he did not regret being here. Something inside him knew he was exactly where he needed to be. Suddenly, he felt a soft warmth in his mind. Not a voice, Not a sound, but a picture, faint and blurry. A picture of a small creature curled beside him. He sat up, surprised. What was that? The largest egg shone like a gentle sunrise. Elias whispered, "Did you send me that picture? Was that from you?" Another soft image appeared, this time the feeling of comfort, like lying beside a warm friend. Emotion swelled in Elias's chest. "You're dreaming of me?" The egg glowed as if saying yes. Elias covered his mouth with his hand, overwhelmed. Dr. Saral rushed in upon hearing the increased readings. When she saw Elias wiping his eyes, she paused. "Elias? What did they show you?" Elias took a shaky breath. "They dreamed of me. Beside them." Dr. Saral's eyes widened. "Pre-hatch emotional mirroring. This is unprecedented." Lyran approached gently. "You have become their anchor." Elias blinked. "Anchor?" "Yes," Lyran said. "The first thing they trust. The first thing they understand. The first calmness they know." Elias looked at the eggs, glowing softly like warm lanterns. He whispered, "I won't let you be alone. I'll stay with you until the very end." The eggs shimmered in reply, filling the room with warmth so soft it felt almost like a hug. Word of the bond spread across the palace. Some were shocked, some were amazed, some even shed tears while reading the reports. The idea that a simple human boy, one without psychic ability or royal blood, had become the emotional center of the future royal brood touched many hearts. One minister said, "Perhaps humans have a gift we have long overlooked." Another scholar whispered, "Harmony does not come from power, it comes from gentleness." And the queen, upon hearing the full reports, said quietly, "This boy may shape the future of our royal line." As the days passed, Elias grew less afraid and more confident, not proud, just steady. The eggs trusted him, they reached for him, they dreamed of him, and he felt honored to be part of their world. One evening, he pressed his hand softly to the largest egg, still not touching, but close enough to feel its warmth. "I'm here," he whispered. "I'll stay until you hatch. You're not alone." A wave of pure gold washed across all the eggs at once. The bond was complete, and the entire hatchery seemed to sigh with peaceful joy. The long weeks in the royal hatchery passed with a gentle, almost magical rhythm. Elias had grown so used to waking up beside the glowing eggs that he sometimes forgot what his old life had felt like. The soft hum of the brood, the warm light that filled the crystal chamber, the quiet joy of seeing the eggs respond to him. All of it had become part of his everyday world. And as time moved forward, something new began to fill the air. A calm excitement, not loud, not chaotic, just a soft electric feeling that made every breath feel important. The eggs were changing. Their glow grew richer, deeper, gold mixed with silver, blue, and gentle white. Small vibrations pulsed through the nests, not in distress, but in growing energy. The royal brood was almost ready to hatch. One morning, as Elias stepped into the chamber with his usual soft greeting, "Good morning, little ones," the largest egg pulsed so brightly that he froze mid-step. Dr. Saral, who had worked through the night, quickly looked up from her scanner. "It's happening. Their internal energy is shifting. The time is near." Lyran approached, his calm expression hiding a deep excitement. "We have waited a century for this moment, and they are ready. Thanks to you, Elias." Elias swallowed hard. "I didn't do everything. Everyone worked so much." Dr. Saral shook her head gently. "No, do not underestimate your presence. Without you, the brood may not have reached this moment in harmony." Elias felt warm embarrassment on his cheeks. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt like someone who simply sat with eggs and sang to them. But the Aurelians clearly saw more in him. The queen entered soon after, her golden robe shimmering. She looked at the glowing nests with soft eyes. "It is time," she said. "The brood calls to the one they trust most." Elias knew she meant him. For the first time, the hatchery was closed to outsiders. Only a small group remained: the Queen, Liren, Dr. Saral, and Elias. Even the palace trainees were kept away, though they waited anxiously outside the shimmering doors. Inside, the air was warm, almost like sunlight had filled the whole chamber. Elias sat cross-legged beside the nests, placing his hands gently on the crystal floor. He breathed slowly and deeply, so the eggs could feel his calmness. The largest egg trembled slightly. Liren whispered, "They sense you." Elias whispered back, "I'm here." A soft wave of gold shimmered across all the eggs in response. Then it began. A bright crack of light appeared on the largest egg. Not a dangerous crack, but a gentle one, like a star opening its eyes. The glow pulsed rhythmically, matching Elias's heartbeat. Elias felt a small tug inside his chest. The same emotional pull he had felt weeks ago, only stronger now, brighter, almost joyful. He whispered, "It's all right. I'm with you." The egg answered with a warm pulse. Dr. Saral recorded readings so quickly her hands shook. "This is like nothing we have ever seen. Their energy is synchronized with Elias." "It is imprinting," the Queen said softly. "True imprinting." More cracks of light appeared one by one across all the eggs. The room filled with glittering rays like stars being born. Elias leaned closer, not afraid, only full of wonder. The largest egg finally opened with a soft, glowing burst. A small wyvern, no bigger than a house cat, spilled gently onto the silver threads of the nest. Its tiny body shimmered with soft scales of pale gold, and its small wings curled close to its sides. The newborn creature blinked slowly. Adjusting to the world for the first time, its eyes finally opened, and the first thing it saw was Elias. The little wyvern chirped, a soft, warm, musical sound that seemed to echo happiness. It stumbled forward, tiny claws tapping softly on the nest, and pressed its small head against Elias's hand. Elias gasped softly, "Hello there." The bond was instant, pure, gentle, beautiful. Liren whispered, "He has chosen you." The Queen looked deeply moved. "As we hoped, the bond is complete." Then, almost as if following the lead of their eldest sibling, the other eggs began to hatch. Tiny wyverns of all colors, silver, blue, soft white, pale green, emerged with sleepy chirps and blinking eyes, and every one of them turned toward Elias. Some waddled to him on unsteady legs, some fluttered their small wings. One even climbed over another to reach him. They surrounded him like a warm, glowing circle. Elias sat completely still, afraid to move in case he frightened them. But the hatchlings were not afraid. They curled beside him, rested their tiny heads against his legs, and pressed their warm bodies into his hands. He felt his eyes grow wet. They're all so beautiful." The Queen smiled gently. "They trust you as their first light." Dr. Saral wiped her eyes. "I have waited my entire life to witness a moment like this." Liren placed a gentle hand on Elias's shoulder. "You are now part of their story forever." Elias held the largest hatchling carefully in his arms, surprised by how light and warm it was. The creature chirped again, nuzzling into the crook of his elbow. The others settled around him in a glowing, peaceful pile. Elias whispered, "I won't ever leave you, I promise." News of the hatching spread across the entire palace. Although the hatchery remained sealed for the safety of the newborns, word traveled quickly. The human boy is their bonded caretaker. The royal brood imprinted on him. He calmed them, and now they follow him. In the days that followed, the hatchlings grew stronger and more curious. They stumbled clumsily after Elias wherever he went, chirping, fluttering, and occasionally trying to climb onto his shoulders. Elias laughed often now, more than he had in months. The hatchlings brought him joy in a way he could not explain. They trusted him completely, and he cared for them with gentle human affection. He fed them warm broth from small silver bowls. He cleaned their tiny claws with soft towels. He read them simple stories every night. The hatchlings responded to everything. When he read, they curled around him. When he hummed, they pulsed with warm light. When he slept, they formed a protective circle around his cot. Even the queen, upon seeing this, was touched. Your presence shapes their minds. They will grow into rulers who understand calmness and empathy. Elias smiled shyly. I just try to be kind. That kindness, the queen replied, is your greatest gift. One afternoon, the queen summoned Elias to the grand chamber. The hatchlings chirped loudly when he stood to leave, so the queen allowed him to bring the eldest one with him. The tiny wyvern clung to his shoulder happily as he walked. When he entered the chamber, the queen stood waiting with a small box made of crystal glass. She opened it gently and revealed a badge shaped like a rising star. Elias, she said softly, you are no longer only a stable boy. Elias blinked. Your Majesty? You are the first harmonist of the Aurelian Empire, she declared. Guardian of the royal brood, teacher of calmness, bridge between our species. Elias felt his breath catch. But I'm not important. I'm just... The queen raised a hand. The brood chose you. That is the greatest honor in our history. She pinned the star-shaped badge to his chest. It sparkled softly, catching the light of the chamber. Elias touched it carefully. Thank you. I'll do my best. I know you will, the queen said. You already have. At that moment, the little wyvern on his shoulder chirped proudly, as if agreeing. Everyone in the chamber smiled. That night, back in the hatchery, the hatchlings curled around Elias as he lay on his cot. He felt their warmth, their trust, their gentle breathing. He looked down at them and whispered, You changed my life, and I'll take care of you as long as I live. The hatchlings glowed softly, filling the room with peaceful light. Elias closed his eyes, feeling content in a way he had never known. The human boy who once cleaned stables had now become the heart of the royal brood. His calmness shaped their future. His softness shaped their minds. His kindness shaped their world. And across the galaxy, the legend began. No beast could guard the royal eggs until a human stable boy slept beside them. If you want an epilogue, bonus chapter, or full novel-style expansion, just tell me.